This video is for the lesson 7.4 homework. This is the applications of polynomial operations. So we're going to be adding functions, subtracting functions, multiplying functions in real world situations. So on these first two, what we're doing is we're adding two shapes. Okay, and these are all volume. So what two shapes do we have here?
A triangle.
Whoa. A cone. So here's what we're going to start off with. We're adding. Y'all good to do this on your own? We're adding a cone to a cylinder. So a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h plus a cylinder, which is pi r squared h. Okay. It says, using the diagram, find the radius. So I'm looking for the radius. So with a cone and a cylinder, to be able to find these, I need a radius and a height. Okay? And then it tells me the total volume, which means the cone plus the cylinder is going to equal 2673 pi. All right. So I need to have the same letter. Okay? So we're looking for the radius r of the cylinder. So that's this, the radius r. The radius of the cylinder is the same as the radius for the cone, because the circles fit perfectly on top of each other. Okay? What's different is the heights. So the height of the cone is 2r. So in my, this was cone, this was, I put comes. This was the cylinder. So here, instead of height, instead of h for height, I can swap it out for this r value. So 1/3 pi r squared. And so instead of h, I'm going to put 2r. And then for the cylinder, I can do the same thing. The height here is 3r. Pi r squared times 3r equals 2673 pi. Okay.
Wait, why?
No, ask.
No, I got it.
Okay. To solve this, okay, the easiest way to solve this is to do it in the graphs. So what you can do in graphs, I'm going to put this into f of 1. Okay? So 1/3 pi is down here. Pi. Instead of r, I'm going to use an x, because remember on the graph side you have to use x. And then I'm going to go ahead and put that 2r, since it's a substitution. I'm going to put it in parentheses, 2x, I'm sorry. Plus pi. And then x squared. And again, this was a substitution. Anytime you're swapping things out, put it in parentheses. It just helps to keep the math right. 3x. Okay. So the left-hand side goes into f of 1. The right-hand side, if you press the down arrow key, it's going to go into f of 2. 2673 pi. All right. I have to be able to see both lines. So I can't see both lines here. So I'm going to zoom out. Zoom out is menu 4. And I'm just going to click until I can see that other line. That other line should be red. Now, it looks like the blue line's vertical now, but your calculator still knows what's going on. But your calculator will solve this and will tell you what that intersection point is. Okay? So to do that, it's menu 6 and then 4. The intersection where that red line and that blue line cross, that's your solution for your missing letter. So the dashed line you put on either side, and it'll pop up. It'll say you captured the intersection. And then you're wanting the x value, the first number. My first number there is a 9. That's it. That's your radius. And you're done. The hardest part of this is just getting the right pieces into the formula. Okay? The calculator does all the math for you. Okay, so number 3. Let me ask you this. Both of these are addition. I'm going to do this subtraction one. So you've got your choice. Do you want me to do this addition one or this subtraction one?
Let's do the subtraction.
You want me to do 2 subtraction ones?
I don't want to find out how to do addition.
Subtractions are harder.
Oh, what is this?
We did an addition.
Oh, we just did it.
That's an addition one. All right, so the reason subtraction is harder is you have to get the formulas in the right order. So in this picture, I've got, it's like a bead, right? It's a rectangular prism. It's a box with like a tunnel cut out of it. So what's my biggest shape there?
The rectangle.
The rectangular prism, right? So prism minus the cylinder is what we're doing. We're taking a prism and we're cutting out. We're subtracting a cylinder. So a prism is length times width times height. And on here, I want to show you something. This is, and I don't agree with this. This is how we teach it in 8th grade now. We teach the volume of a rectangular prism as big B times H. Big B is the area of the base. And that's why I put this down here. The area of a rectangle is length times width. But if you want to write that, if you want to write length times width times height out beside that. So a triangular prism, here's the triangular prism, it would be 1/2, and it's BH, and then it's another height. I'll try to show you an example of a rectangle, what that means by a triangular prism. All right, so a cylinder, pi r squared h. Pi r squared h. Now look at this little important tidbit here. They use 3.14 for pi, so I am not going to use the pi key. If they tell you this, if they give you this little caveat, make sure that you change pi to 3.14. So I'm trying to find r, the radius of the cylinder. So we know that letter's going to stay. I got to swap every other letter out for something containing an r. So let's start with the rectangular prism. What is the length of this rectangular prism?
4R.
Okay, so 4r, that's my length. What's the width?
7/3 R.
7/3 r, and there's no wrong answer here as long as you use them only once. That's my width. What's my height? Yeah, so we use that one, we use that one. So if you need to mark them out, 7/3 r minus pi. R squared can stay because that's the letter I'm looking for. What's the height of the cylinder? Here's where things get sketchy.
7/3.
All right, height of a cylinder. Imagine yourself holding that cylinder, hand on the bottom, hand on the top. The bottom and the top are the circles. The distance between your fingers, that's the height.
7R.
So, no, 4r.
4R.
So this is the height here.
Oh, yeah. Well,
From base to base is the height of a three-dimensional figure. And then we know the total volume, 709.82. All right, so in the calculator then, start fresh. So in my graph, I'm going to put the formula that I made first. Remember, X's, no other letters. 7/3 x. 7/3 x minus 3.14. Not r. X squared times 4x. And then F2 is this amount, 709.82. Hit enter, and I got to be able to see red and blue. So menu 4, and you just click the center of your screen till the red line appears. Once it appears, so the keys now to make it solve is menu 6, 4. And then again, when you capture the intersection, it'll pop up, and you want the first number. So my first number there, is not correct.
So it isn't wrong?
We're going to write that down, though, 4.25. Because I have not checked my answer key yet. Just be glad I'm not making you solve these by hand.
Will someone ever make us do that?
All right. Cylinder. So this is another subtraction one. What's my biggest shape here? The cylinder, right? So the cylinder, and then we're going to subtract the sphere from the cylinder.
Oh, so I thought the sphere would have more.
So the cylinder is going to be pi r squared h minus the sphere, which is 4/3 pi r cubed. And that's going to equal 360 pi. Now, on this one, I need a radius and I need a height. We're trying to find the height of the cylinder, so everything has to be a letter H. So of the cylinder, what's the radius of that cylinder?
Well, it's half of 3 over 0.
Half of what?
3 over 2.
If this is the diameter, what would the radius be? Half of that, right? So the radius is going to be 1/2 times d. So my radius is 1/2 d, and then it's squared. What's the height of the cylinder?
When I divided the 3/2 by 2,
No, that is the height. Radius and height are not the same. This is the radius. Because the radius is always on the circular part of the shape. Find the circle, and the line going halfway across the circle is your radius. From base to base is always your height.
so how did you know it was like the diameter as well?
Because it tells me all the way across is the letter D. So half of the letter D is the radius. The diameter, the radius is always half of the diameter. Holy guacamole chips, y'all. Radius always equals diameter divided by 2. Diameter always equals half of the radius. Okay? So find the circle. All the way across the circle is the diameter. Halfway across the circle is the radius. Oh, it's going to be a tough one. All right, the height here from circle to circle is 3/2 d. 3 over 2 d minus 4/3 pi. And the radius is the same. The radius of the sphere and the cylinder are the same. So this is the radius. Again, diameter is all the way across. Radius is halfway across. Cubed. And that equals 360 pi. Okay. Calculator time.
This isn't really that hard.
Yeah, but finding the pieces is what's going to be the toughest because y'all are not strong in geometry. All right, so remember, no letters. And you can only have one letter, so make sure whatever you're typing into your calculator, you're using one letter. And whatever that letter is in the calculator, change it to an X. Squared 3 over 2 x minus 4/3 pi 1/2 x cubed, okay, over 360 pi. Zoom out. And then menu 6, 4. Now, I've got another step after I'm done here. Because I got 12. But that's this letter. D equals 12. That's not what I'm looking for. That means the diameter is 12. This one's the height. And this says the height is 3/2 D. So I have to take my answer and multiply it by 3/2. What's 3/2 times 12? 12 is the same as 6 times 2, means this cancels, 3 times 6 equals 18. We got to get where we're not afraid of fractions. Or you can do it in your calculator. All right, so the rest of these are adding and subtracting on this side. Flip it. We're running short, guys. I got 10 minutes to get through 2 problems. All right, here we go. Using the diagram below, find the length, L. So I'm solving for L of the rectangular prism if the total volume of the figure is 2520. So, prism, length times width times height equals 2520. So the length is L. The width is L minus 5. And the height is 10/7 L. Equals 2520. These are probably the easiest ones because these are just putting pieces in. And you can do it the same way in your calculator. Again, make sure you're using x's. X minus 5, 10/7 x equals 2520. Zoom out. And then menu 6, 4. Boop and boop. I got 14 as my x. And so then that's your length. Ask. All right, number 9. This time, it's a 2-stepper like we did on that last one with the sphere. All right, so length times width times height equals 96. Length is L. Width is 1/3 L. Height is L plus 2. But in the end, here's what it wants. It wants this value. So whatever answer we get here, we've got to go back and multiply it by 1/3. So we got x, 1/3 x plus 2 equals 96. Menu 4, 4, zoom out. And then menu 6, 4. So L equals 6, but I got to multiply that by 1/3. 1/3 times 6 is a 2.